Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of Black Empowerment 365. I am one of your hosts, Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I'm here joined by my one and only co-host. It's the one, the only, Kiana Rodriguez. How you doing, Kiana?
I am wonderful. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. I had a really good day, very good day.
Ooh.
Got a lot of stuff done, and I'm so happy to be here chopping it up with you.
All right. Yes, today was pretty good. It looks like it was going to rain, but for the most part, it's really been a great day, and so I'm very blessed. I'm very happy to be here as well. We have an amazing guest tonight.
Yes, we do. But before we get to our guest, you don't know that I was about to do this, but I've had the fortune of sitting in on some of your Periscopes and your Facebook Lives, and you've been killing the game. I mean, you first of all, your passion just radiates, and you can definitely hold an audience. And, they've been quite amazing. They've been very amazing.
Thank you. I had no idea you were going to do that. You're right. But yeah. Thank you. I really enjoy it. And you guys are very engaging. And I have such a good time helping people in that way. So this challenge that we've been doing has been just amazing. So thank you, Kente.
By the end of the show, I definitely want to kind of go over that a little bit, because I think it's definitely quality stuff, and I think it's stuff that people need to know about.
Okay, no problem.
I could not bring that up.
Okay.
All right. So let's get to our guest. A couple of months ago, as I was blab hopping, I had the pleasure to come in on a blab by this young lady. Her name is DeShuna Spencer, and she is the CEO of kweliTV. How are you doing, DeShuna?
I am awesome. How are you tonight? Or both of you? Well, you're in LA, so it's more like afternoon for you.
I'm excellent. I'm doing very well, and we're so happy to have you on. I knew that the night that I seen you on there, I knew I wanted at some point to have you on this show. So I'm glad that this finally happened.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes. So we're going to talk a lot about kweliTV, and we're going to talk about some of the content you can find on there and exactly what it is for some of those who may not be aware.
Right.
But in tradition of our show each week, we always like to get to the heart of who our guests are. So we always like to start off with where you were born.
Where I was born?
Mm-hmm.
Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised. I always tell people, I meet people I tell people, I'm from Memphis. Like, wow, they think of the South, they think of Goa Teeth, they think of the movie. What was that movie that was like the Memphis movie?
Hustle and Flow.
Yeah, Hustle and Flow.
I didn't know that was in Memphis.
Yeah, that's a Memphis movie. Yeah, and
right.
People from Memphis like, it's not exactly Memphis, but it's close enough. So people, when they do, think of Memphis, they think about that. They also think about barbecue. So yeah, born and raised Memphis, Tennessee. I do live in the DC area now, but that's my roots, the Mid-South.
Oh, okay. So you didn't wear your gold tooth for us today, being from.
Yeah, I didn't wear my cap today. Next time. No grill.
So, you didn't bring us a plate of barbecue, but that's okay. We forgive you.
Next time.
Right.
And I will say, most people in Memphis can throw down on barbecue. If you're from Memphis, you have to be able to barbecue well.
Yes. Now, did you go to high school in Memphis?
High school, like I said, born and raised. Most of my family's still in Memphis. I grew up in a very, traditional household, working class family, mother, father, very, religious family, but parents who really cared and did the best that they could with the resources that they had to make sure that we, could get what we needed in life. And so I'm very thankful to have that. A lot of people in my neighborhood did not have a mother and a father living with them, and I was probably one of only kids. My brother, my sister, and I were the only in my neighborhood that actually had their dad at home. They came home every night and lived with us, and was we were a full unit. So I think about that, and I was very, very thankful to having that that a lot of kids didn't have growing up, and it did make an impact on my life. It was definitely a huge impact.
Now, what was young DeShuna like?
Young DeShuna was, I'm the middle kid, so I am the free spirit one of my family. I am also probably most stubborn of my family. Like I said, growing up, when you're from the South and you're a woman, a Black woman, there's like this, this is where you should, this is how you should be as a young Black girl growing up in the South. And I was never that girl. I was never, I never really liked the rules. I never really conformed to the norm. And it was interesting growing up. Maybe like as a kid, it probably wasn't the best for my parents. I always think about I don't have kids now. I'm like, wow, if I was if I had a kid and my kid was like me, how would I feel about that? Because I was very strong-willed and I definitely spoke my mind as much as someone who grew up in the South. Because my husband's from Buffalo, New York, and compared to maybe someone from the North, I am not maybe as vocal, but for the South, and I was probably more vocal than most little girls, and that's what I remember most about my childhood, and really challenging things, and seeing how things were well, does it really have to be like this? That was pretty much how I was about everything, and I challenged everything. And little DeShuna, growing up, DeShuna was also very, very aware of how hard my parents worked, because like I said, my parents were working class people, and there were times when they had food to eat. There were times where we had syrup sandwiches for dinner. We didn't have, food. And so, but despite that, sometimes my parents would still try to give us an allowance. And so I was always the saver. Ever since I was a kid, I was always the biggest saver in my family. So one instance in particular, I had to be 12 or 13 years old. And my dad was laid off. He was a truck driver most of his life. And so my parents didn't have enough money to buy groceries. I, on the hand, had always saved my money because I was always a saver. And so my parents DeShuna, I know you've been saving your money. I know you don't spend it like your siblings. So we need some help with groceries. Do you mind, loaning us money? I was like, of course. I actually felt really good as a kid that my parents needed help, and I could help them with the money I had saved up. They had no idea. They probably thought I had $30, $40 and $200 or something. I'm like, DeShuna, you have this much money? I was like, yeah. They're like, oh my God, we can buy all the groceries we need with this, and we're gonna pay you back. And my parents did pay me back. I didn't care if they paid me back, honestly, because they're my parents and they bought me food forever. It didn't really matter to me, but because of my upbringing, because I grew up working class, and because I knew my parents were trying as hard as they could, I didn't mind giving my parents money. There were times when we didn't have money for Christmas, and my parents were like, hey, this year we may not have as much money to give for Christmas. And we were okay with that, because the bigger picture was that my parents were homeowners and we would have a roof over our heads and we have food on the table. So that's kind of what I remember the most about my childhood, is just really understanding, the dynamics of parents doing the best they can to make sure they can supply the most for their kids. And being the type of kid where I was a kid where I still wanted stuff too. I wasn't like angel kid with a halo over my head. I still wanted all the cool things all the kids wanted. But at the same time, I knew that I always couldn't get it. And so, it is what it is. And it really taught me early on the fact that, life is hard. And if you have to make sure that you save your money, you have to make sure you have to do what you have to do to make ends meet. And when we talk about kweliTV, which is why I'm here on this, conversation, people always wonder how have I been able to do so much with so little? I always tie it back to my upbringing, because we didn't have a lot, but my parents were able to do so much, and I understood the value of $1 So a lot of tech startups, they get all this money from these investors and they just blow it. And that's not, what my goal is. My goal is to be very strategic with the money and use it for the purpose of greater good.
So, when you were growing up, what are some things that you were interested in?
Mm-hmm. So as a child, I really enjoyed writing and reading. Probably the only thing I honestly enjoyed. I'm really horrible at math to this day, but give me a book. I was the type of kid where my parents, we didn't have a lot of money, like I mentioned, but we would go to the library. And so my dad would drive us to the library maybe once, every other month, and I would check out like 10 books. And people are like, you're not going to read all that. I would read every bit of it. So much so that when I was in elementary school, I would typically get like how most schools, like you get points for how much you read, or how many like words you read, or how many books you read. I would basically be the winner like every year because I read more books than most kids in my school. Again, so much so that by the time I got into fourth grade, because I was so good at English and reading, that during reading time in elementary school, my teachers would say, DeShuna, can you read to the kindergartners and the first graders and second graders, and we would give you credit for that. So I would go around to kindergartners, first graders, and second graders and read to those students because I was a very good reader. I've always been a good reader, and I really enjoy writing. I used to write short stories as a kid. As a child, I envisioned myself being a novelist. Like I used to love really like young adult, like at like 7, I was reading like young adult, like teenage novels, but I kind of picture myself doing that type of content. So I would like write like love stories like 7, like I didn't know what love was at the time, but that was my vision. I remember when I was in 5th grade, I had to do this project, and the project was we learned about like haikus, and we learned about short stories, and we learned about poetry, and we had to put together something for the senior book, well, not the senior, but the 5th grade book, and it was going to be published. And so it could only be like 300 words, and it was like blasphemy. 300 words. I submitted a 20-page short story. And
20 pages?
yes. In the 5th grade. And when it was published, I was appalled that they took 2 paragraphs of my 20-page, short story. And the teacher's like, DeShuna, we can only take a portion of it. It was really great, but we can't publish your whole piece. I've always been good at content. I've always been good at writing. I have a really wild imagination. Mm-hmm. And so that was me as a child. Like I wanted to be a novelist. I wanted to do something that was creative because I've always been a very creative person. I'm not the studious, I'm going to study in, chemistry and science and math, but I could read my butt off and I could write my butt off. And I know content. And those are 2 things that I knew I was good at as a kid. And the other thing I really liked as a kid was news. I used to watch Meet the Press before church at 10 years old on Sunday mornings. That was also, most kids don't watch Meet the Press. I think most adults don't watch Meet the Press. But that was something I also really enjoyed. So I knew that whatever, oh, great, someone said they wrote a play in 5th grade. Awesome, Gerald. Exactly. So I felt like as a kid, like that was sort of what I thought my path would be, where I would be a creative, and I knew that's kind of what I wanted to do. Of course, when you have a streaming network, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. The thought of a streaming network, there was no thought. So I didn't know that this would be my path, but I knew that whatever I would do would be centered around being creative.
Now, something that you kind of blew by pretty quickly, mm-hmm. but I want to go back. You said when you were 7 years old, you wrote love stories. What kind of love stories?
You know what? I haven't read it in a while. I have a book of memory, and I include it in my, not a book, but like a chest of stuff from when I was a kid. I have my kindergarten like report card, literally. So, and I also have some of my short stories. I haven't really sat down to read the stuff from when I was like 7, but I don't know. I used to read a lot of young adult. I didn't read kid stories. I read young, young adult, like, teen, like tween, like teenagers. Like I was really into that as a kid because the stories were more rich than the stuff that you read in the fifth grade, which is very elementary for me. So I really like the older, the more serious type of subjects. So I wrote about subjects about love and life. I need to probably go back and read it myself to say, oh my God, I can't believe I said this when I was 7. But that was kind of what was in my head. And I just had this whole imagination about what a relationship was at 7. I would write about it in real life circumstances of young adults when I was a kid. I used to write the short stories.
Okay, so when did you leave Memphis and how did that all happen?
I left Memphis when I went to college. So I graduated from high school. I'm not going to say what year because they're going to try to calculate my age and we're not going to go there. I'm just joking. So at 17, someone in class of 2016, oh, well, congrats to somebody. So I left Memphis at 17. My birthday's in October, so of course I went to college at 17. I went to Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. And I went there. I definitely graduated in 2016. Oh my God, no. A long time ago. I'm probably older than both of you, actually. I'm sure I'm older than both of you. But when I knew I wanted to go away, not so far that I was like totally like away from, my support system, but I just wanted to be away enough where I could find myself. Because growing up, just like when you grow up and you're in the same community and people sort of pigeonhole you to be like this certain person, and I was just like very like bookworm and read. I was pretty quiet, but I had like ambitions to do so much more. And I feel like if I went away to a college where there weren't many people who knew me in high school, no way did they be faced. Believe me, you have no idea how.
You look very young.
I know. You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. I'll just say that. But we'll just move on from that because I see quotes of people keep talking about how young I look. Let's just end it there. I'll just continue on with college because keep. So I knew I wanted to get away, and I knew I studied journalism in college, and so I knew that as a career, like I thought about, okay, I'll be a novelist, but ideally, can a novelist really make money right away? And I thought that journalism was a way where I could write and maybe do novels later on in life. And so that's why I ended up going to Jackson State, because Jackson State had a really good journalism program. They still do. And I really wanted to learn everything about journalism. I had this idea about being an international journalist and traveling around the world and, during wartime and, like things like bullets flying over me and I'm like reporting. That was my initial dream when I went off to college. So that's basically how I left. And I knew I just wanted to get away. I was the first kid in my family to go away to college. My sister was the first person in the family to actually go to college. And I was the second person, and I was the first person to go away. And I just wanted to leave Memphis. I just wanted to see what was outside of my city. And to me, it really gave me a different outlook on where I grew up, because it's like a lot. I'm not sure. I'm just curious. Where are you both from originally? I know it's about me, but I'm a journalist. So I'm going to ask questions. So sorry.
I'm from the best city in the world, Los Angeles, California.
All right, major city. What about you?
Well, many don't know this, but I was born in Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
And I grew up in the DC area.
Oh, what part?
A little bit everywhere, like Fairfax, Falls Church, Alexandria, Annandale. Annandale was a major part of growing up.
Okay. I'm very. I live in Old Town.
Old Town Alexandria.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yep. So yeah.
That's beautiful there.
Yes. Oh, thanks to my husband. That's another story within itself. I have to tell you.
See, we gotta talk about that.
So, so growing up in Memphis, I had this ideology about growing up in the South and being from Memphis, and it was this lame town, and 3 6 Mafia, and that was all we had. And then I go to Mississippi, and it's like, wow, you from Memphis, and like like it was some awesome place, and even to this day, whenever I live in DC area now, I mean, lots of people, no matter where I am in the country, I tell them I'm from Memphis. Like, wow, I love Memphis. So really, I started to appreciate where I came from. It's like, if you're from an area, like, you don't appreciate it until like you leave. And I'm not interested in moving, but I love Memphis, but I'm not interested in moving back or anything. But I still really appreciate, how I was brought up and just that environment, because I think we all grew up in different areas, and we all learn from those experiences. So college was probably one of the most challenging times in my life, but it was probably one of the best times in my life as a person, because I grew so much and I learned so much about myself. And I remember coming back home for the holidays, and my best friends would be like, DeShuna, you're such a different person now. Like, you're more outgoing. And I mean, I was also a communication student, so I had to talk a lot more and really put myself out there. But I really feel like I was becoming the person who I really was versus what people thought I was. And so when I have interns, when I meet with them, and they're always like, I'm afraid to leave my home, about leave. I talk to high school kids, I'm like, leave. I'm not telling everyone to. I mean, everyone may not be open to leaving, but I really think it has a huge impact on your life if you leave your comfort zone, because there's no one else there. There's no safety net that can help you. Like, you're totally on your own, and you really figure out who you are as a person. And I can say that I would not be the person that I am today if I would have gone to a college where half of the students were from my high school. But I went to a place where there weren't that many people I knew, and I really learned who I was as a person. And it was like I said, as I mentioned, a challenging time, but it was a time that it was totally invaluable, and it really made me who I am today.
Now, you said you went to Jackson State, which is a historic college.
Yes.
What was that like going to a historically Black college? And you kind of touched on it a little bit. For those who didn't have that opportunity to go to a historically Black college, just say, how did it shape and mold you as an adult?
So a couple of things. The thing, I'm from Memphis, so Memphis is traditionally a Black city. So I meet people who go to HBCUs where they grew up around mostly white people, and they go to HBCU to sort of get a different experience. And so, TSU, let's see someone. Oh, we're rivals. Sorry, our band is better. Sorry. I'm just keeping it real. Sorry, Adam. So back to my story. So HBCUs, I think every experience can be a good experience, but for those who don't go to HBCU, you really learn more about your culture. Like, there was a study of you were forced to take a class about African American studies, and you were forced to take classes about your history. And even though I grew up in Memphis and I was surrounded by a lot of people who look like me, I didn't really learn a lot about my history. And when you go to an HBCU, not that it's drilled in you, but I feel like, it really gives you a different perspective on your people, because a lot of times when people think about Black kids, Black kids, they don't want to study, Most of the kids in my school were studying hard. They were working really hard to make something of their lives, and most of their parents were upper middle class. I was one of the working class kids who went to Jackson State. The kids were rolling Escalades and Cadillacs, and I'm in my 1991 Geo Prism that was used when I got in high school. So it was a really interesting experience. Jackson State is a party school, and just like with any school, I mean, even like traditional, like Arizona State is a party school, right? And so I feel like you get out of it what you put into it. And I partied my freshman year. I was at the club, but at the same time, I wasn't there so much where like, okay, I'm getting kicked out of school, because I knew what the mission was. I feel like you can have fun and really enjoy all there is about an HBCU. But I think at the same time, you know what the mission is while you're there. You're there to get an education. You're there to make a better pathway for for your future generations. And like I wrote an article in Medium about like the challenges of being a tech startup and being a Black woman having a tech startup and the issues of not having money. And the fact is, like, for a lot of people who start tech companies, usually they may have like family friends who give them lots of money. For a lot of us, especially those who go to HBCUs, we're usually the first generation to go to college. And so that was always drilled in my head as a child, or as Jackson State, because I knew that it was a bigger mission than just getting education, but what that meant for my future generation compared to what was behind me and the generations that were behind me. And so that was always really important to me as well. HBCUs, I don't know if I could go to a traditional college, but I know for an HBCU, it was something I would never forget. You get so much culture. For me, one of the biggest things I got out of it was the fact that I learned about different music and different cultures in different cities. So being from Memphis, there's 3 6 Mafia, there's 8 Ball and MJG, and there's can't think of his name, Patrick, or whatever, can't think of his name. And then like in New Orleans, they have their own music, and then Detroit, they have their own music, and in Chicago, they have their own style, and I learned about all the different cultures. So much to hustling for, yeah, we missed that earlier. So you learn about all these different cultures, and you learn about how other people live their lives, and for me, it was a really, there is an echo as well. Do you guys hear an echo?
Yes, a little echo.
Okay, someone mentioned it. So, so for me, it was a really good experience. It was definitely challenging. I think just college in general is challenging. I didn't pledge, so I don't know that part of the HBCU life where you actually pledge and all of that, because I was focused on, someone's a Kappa. So for me, I saved my money up and I wanted to pledge. And when I went to pledge, they were like kicked off the yard and all of that into my senior year. I had saved up like $2,000, and at the same time, I was offered an internship in San Francisco. So, do you pledge and use the money to pledge, or do you use the money to go to San Francisco and take this internship and for your future? And for me, I chose to use that money to do the internship, because that was for my future when it comes to journalism. So it was a great experience. I mean, other people have different experiences at HBCUs. I wouldn't change anything that I did. I made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of fun. But at the same time, it's college, and you're gonna make mistakes. You're young and you're trying to figure things out while you're there. One of the things is probably the most unfortunate things that I suffered loss. I had a boyfriend who was murdered my freshman year in college, which was a very devastating, and pivotal moment for me while I was in college. But it also made me a much stronger person.
Okay. Just to let people know that Kiana will be right back. She just had to restart. We'll take your question in just a second, Corey.
No question.
Oh, okay. We're not. We're just letting real quick questions in, and then we'll let people come in at the very end.
Sorry.
Okay. No problem, man. All right. So
Thanks for joining me.
We'll let you back in a little bit later. Now, in the first half of the interview, we've learned quite a bit about you. We found out that you like to read, you like to write, that you are very good at saving up money, because even when you were a little kid, you had the $200 and then you had the $2,000. It's as tempting as it is to go into your party life.
No, we don't want to go there.
We're going to go into kweliTV because I was so intrigued when I first heard about it, because I've been drum about the importance of such a thing, that you're doing it. I think it's pretty amazing. So let's start off with what exactly it is for those who may not, and then also how you came up with the idea.
Sure. So kweliTV is a streaming platform. We have independent films, documentaries, web shows, and news programming for the global Black community. So we have content from around the globe, as I tell people, here in the U.S., Nigeria, Cameroon, Trinidad, London, Paris, Brazil, Honduras, Germany, anywhere where Black people of African descent live, we tell those stories. Kweli means truth in Swahili. So our goal is to show the true culture of our community versus what we typically see in mainstream media. So we are very aware of stereotypes that that typically are in mainstream media, especially when it comes to people of African descent. So our goal, we make sure that the content that we have on the platform does not include those stereotypes that we often see on other networks. And I came up with the idea mainly because it was just literally, a lot of times ideas just come from you just like out the blue. My husband and I were looking to, not have cable anymore. We were doing some research on it, and we got a subscription service to the really popular streaming service that everyone knows the name of. I won't mention. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And and so I was really still disappointed with the content that I saw that spoke to me as a Black person. And I was like, man, I wish there was a platform that would show really awesome Black content that maybe in film festivals that we would never get a chance to see. And I was looking around for it, and I couldn't find it. So I was like, let me do it. I was like, I'll do it. And it just kind of went from there. I initially had the idea in 2012. And I remember applying for a competition. I was a finalist for the competition. And at the time, they ask you like, okay, well, you can send information like, why were you chosen? They said they weren't sure about the future of streaming. They weren't sure about, that was in 2000, but that was before HBO Go. That was before, only people that were streaming, it was basically Hulu and Netflix. That's it. In 2012, there really weren't a lot of streaming platforms out there. So fast forward just 2 years later, I submit this idea again to another competition, and I become a finalist, and I win because just with way how things are moving so fast with technology, people kind of saw it. And at the time when I was even a finalist, the person was like, I chose your business idea, but I was like, oh, here we go. It's TV. People have to watch it. Will people really be interested in this? And I was like, I will prove to you that this can be a viable company. Just give me the opportunity. And I did prove it to them. And that's how I ended up winning $20,000 to build the beta for kweliTV.
Wow.
Thank you.
Congratulations, too, by the way. A lot of us will be sitting on our toilets or wherever we get our great ideas.
Right.
Never get past that,
Right.
So congratulations for taking this idea and running with it. And now today we have this platform. And so now, we won't say the N word, which is similar to the platform that you have. But tell us, besides having, African content, African American content or Black content, I should say, how would you say that your platform is different or the same of some of those other streaming platforms? Besides like
Hulu or like Netflix. So one of the things that's important to me personally, and why I wanted to start kweliTV, most of our films have been at film festivals. So they're very, very heavily to be quality content. About 65% of our films are award winning, which is also really important. I didn't want a mediocre platform with mediocre content. I wanted a platform that showcased really great content that people wouldn't mind streaming. And so that's what makes us different in one sense. A lot of our content on our platform you really can't find anywhere else. It's not like you can find our documentaries on Netflix, or you can find it on Hulu or any others. And we have a huge international type of content as well. I would say about 35 to 40% of our content it's international, and we're talking about not just Africa, but we're talking about Brazil. We're talking about the Caribbean, Haiti and Honduras, places that people may even think Black folks are. We have content there. I think that's also what makes us different, because while I think I want to be extremely profitable with this business, but at the same time, I'm also aware of the fact that people assume that Black people want to watch only certain things. We want to watch slapstick comedies, or we only want to watch sitcoms or romantic comedies, and that's it, or a love story about someone trying to find a man and all of that. Those stories are important, but there's so much more to the type of content that people who look like us create. And kweliTV is really providing a platform for those creators, and that's why I started kweliTV, because the content is extremely different from what you may see on Netflix or Hulu or any other platform, and that's content is king at the end of the day. And while people tell me, oh, you should have Ratchet this, you should have that. No, if you want to watch Ratchet, you go wherever you need to go to find that. We're gonna have our niche, and that's what we're committed to, and that's what makes us different from the others.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say are can you tell us a little bit more about some of the films that might stand out to you that you might want to share with us?
We have so many. When I talk to my filmmakers, I tell them they're like children. I love them all the same. I don't, I don't love one child or one film more than the other, because they're picked select. We're very selective with our films. But we have a lot of films. One is Beat the Drum. It's a scripted film. It's about a little boy, and it was made in 2003. Won a slew of awards, and his mother first dies, and his father then dies. He doesn't know what it's from. It's AIDS, but he actually has no idea. And it's based in South Africa. And so after his father dies, he travels to Johannesburg to try to help try to figure out what happened to his family and try to find his uncle. It's a really great story about a little boy who's just trying to help out his family. Another great film on the platform is a documentary that's called Brother Outsider, and it's about I didn't get much sleep. I went to bed at 4:30, so my brain is totally fried right now. But it's about a civil rights activist. I can't think of his name for some apparent reason, but he was actually openly gay, and he was Martin Luther King's right-hand man, actually. So it really talks about the fact that people don't talk much about the fact that this guy was openly gay man, and so it's called Brother Outsider, because but it wasn't, his sexuality really wasn't the important part of the movement, but the fact that just because he was gay doesn't mean he couldn't be active in the movement, and the fact that everyone accepted him for who he was. And that's a really great, another award-winning film on the platform. We have a zombie apocalypse film on the platform as well, called Juju.
Hey.
It's based in Nigeria. It's also won a lot of awards. And at the beginning, it talks about the water crisis in Nigeria. And yeah, thank you. And so it talks about the water crisis in Nigeria and the fact that a lot of people get sick off the water. Of course, very far-fetched thing that could happen. No one's going to become a zombie by drinking Nigeria's, this particular area's water. But basically, the film talks about people drink this water. It starts this zombie apocalypse in this, little village in Nigeria, and it spreads. And so that's another film. And I really, and to me, having all of those very diverse films on the platform, including we have a dark comedy on the platform as well. is the fact that when people think about independent films, they think about it has to be educational and it's boring and I have to think. We have a zombie apocalypse. We have romantic comedy. Just because it's independent, it doesn't mean that it's boring. It just means that they didn't have the connections to get to the studios to produce their films and get at the movie screen. So we're providing a platform for really quality content that allows these great films that may not make it to a movie theater to be seen on our platform. And so I really want to change what people think of independent. I think they think of it's a political film about, global warming, or it's a scripted film about schizophrenia, and it's very serious. I do like those films because as a journalist, I do like, I'm more into reality type of content. I do like comedies too, but we have comedies. You can laugh. There are indie films you can laugh to. There are indie films you can watch romantic comedies too. There are so many different things that you can do, and I really want to promote that through my platform.
All right. Well, we have a wonderful question from Alan. He wants to know, do you feel like TV places negative stereotypes on our people, and how do you feel we can break them?
I do feel like mainstream media definitely usually show not just Black people, but people of Latin descent, people who are Asian in a very different light. I was reading. I have a friend who's Asian. She's a journalist, and it's something I never thought about until I was talking to her. But she was talking about how, like, for roles, like she has friends who are like in Hollywood, and whenever they're trying to get roles in Hollywood, usually they have to have an accent and they have to have broken English, and they're like, well, most of them are from like LA and they speak like you and I, but whenever they go for a role, that's how they have to talk. And the same thing for when you talk about people of African descent. I don't have anything against Empire or any of those other shows, but the sassy Black woman with the added, it feels like all the Black women are about the same cookie cutter type cookie, right? Not on purpose, but the same cookie cutter type of women. And we are not all the same. And I never want to take anything away from these shows or any people, because at the end of the day, people have to watch. People have to make money. I personally watch those shows, but I don't knock anyone who watches those shows. I'm not that holy and thou person, like, you watch blah blah blah. If that's what you want to watch, that's fine. Just personally, I choose not to watch because I feel like there's all these shows. The Black women typically are the same, or the brothers. They've been in prison, and then they turn their life around. It to me, or they're single. The dad's not around, and it's a single mom. Those aren't all the stories in our community. I mean, we are a very diverse community. And I feel like if you don't understand the community, you're going to tell the same stories, right? So that's why I feel like it's so important to have someone who looks like you, understands your culture, to tell your own stories, because someone's going to present a show to me and it's monolithic and it has all the negative stereotypes that we typically see. If I'm not from the community, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's their life, so this makes sense. Versus like, no, this isn't my life. This may be someone's life, but this isn't our only story. This is a part of our story, but this isn't the only story that's within our community. So yes, I do feel like there are negative images that's in mainstream media, whether it's scripted content or in the news. If you looting versus rioting versus protesting, just that alone, you see the difference in how the media, or kids lose a sporting game, like a bunch of college students, they lose the championship in some college town, end up tearing down the cars and blowing things up, and they just blowing off steam. But when we do it because a kid gets killed, we're thugs. So there is a difference. Not to say that either is right when you tear a property, but if you're gonna call one a thug, everyone should be a thug. It just should be thugs for our community. And so I just really feel like that is, if we're expecting someone else to change and and see the light, I think we're doing a disservice. Instead, I think we should really focus on creating our own content and not focusing so much on, well, we want to be represented. They may not ever do that. We can't wait for that. We have to create our own content and control our own narrative at the end of the day.
Now, I see we have a question in the chat, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But I was just kind of curious. What is the ratings on the movies? Are there some extreme content at all, like nudity, language, and that kind of thing, or pretty much it just depends on what the film is?
We do have some films with strong language. There's one film called Chameleon Street. It actually won in Sundance in 1991. And it's about a guy, he dealt with racism. He was frustrated with racism, so he ended up becoming a chameleon and becoming a doctor and all these different things because he felt like he just felt he was disenfranchised. So there is some language, like when I say truth, when I say quality TV and quality content, it's not like it's, Mayberry content. It's not. It's truth. So truth can be innocent and truth can be raw, but I just don't want truth to be stereotypical. So I never want anyone to get confused about what truth means when I say we talk about truth. It's not like everything's gonna be squeaky clean and G-rated. Quality TV isn't a G-rated platform. Quality TV is a truth platform. We show the reality of our community, all the different facets of our community. So there will be some films with explicit language and some strong content. There is no nudity on our platform at this point, but I don't know them. I don't know if that may or may not change. It has to be a really awesome film. We have to put parameters, let people know, if they're a kid, But for the most part, most parents, they do write to us and say, wow, our kids can watch most of the stuff on the platform because most of the stuff is kind of PG-13, maybe minus the horror, the zombie apocalypse one. But and then we do have like Black Girl in Paris, which, so there are some things in there that are a little risque, but for the most part, it's just quality content. It's just the goal is to have quality content that's really great and tells our true stories, pretty much.
All right. Well, Askia, he asked a very great question. So I'm going to go to the question. He wanted to know, how do you feel about Bob Johnson Urban Movie Channel? Do you see them as a competitor? Or do you see an opportunity in the future to create synergy, or maybe them possibly acquiring you?
Interesting question. So what I feel about, I'm never the type of person that likes to critique or they're bad, we're good. They're just different. The Urban Movie Channel, and I met Bob Johnson for the first time 3 weeks ago. He was here in the DC area on Capitol Hill. We were both talking about the set-top box issue and how that could help both of our businesses. He's a billionaire and I'm a thousandaire, right? And they had the two top Black sheep platforms together, which is really interesting because he could, do loops around me, honestly. And we're both on the hill talking about the same, having a common goal. And I never met him before. And he was a really nice guy who's really nice to me. So I would never say anything negative about his platform. I don't want anyone to say anything negative about what we do. It's just different. His focus is more African-American content. He has a lot more music documentaries, like I love Tupac. I was a huge Tupac fan. Just stuff like that on his platform. A lot of his movies on his platform. He had a DVD service before he started Urban Movie Channel. So a lot of the films on his platform were from his DVD service, and they're starting to acquire more. So they're competition because we're both going for the same eyeballs at the end of the day. Would I be interested in them acquiring me? No, because their vision and their mission is different from my vision and mission, and I feel like it's interesting. Like when people say, "Well, there's a movie channel, so that means what's going to happen to quality TV?" Well, why can't we both exist? I feel like I think when a Black person creates something, like you can be the only one, and I don't believe that. I feel like people are going to gravitate to the content that he has, and then people are going to gravitate to the content that kweliTV has, and whoever goes to whatever they're interested in, because we have totally different content, and they go to what they think is best. And that's kind of how I look at what they're doing. Hopefully, answer your question.
That's funny though. And I think we all can relate with being thousandaires. I think it's a bunch of us thousandaires in this conversation here. All right. So now you're a filmmaker and you love your platform. How do you get your stuff to you? Do you find them? Can you send it? And also, if you're a consumer and you want to consume the product and you want to sign up for it, how can you do that?
So if you're a filmmaker, all we ask for people to do is we'll email your content to content@kweli.tv. All we ask people to do is to send us a synopsis of their film, a link, usually a Vimeo link with the password. We review it to make sure it's in keeping with our mission. That's not monolithic, and it tells a true story of our culture, and the quality is great, and it's been in a film festival possibly. And based off of that criteria, if it fits the mold, content quality, that's right. If it fits the mold, then it will be on our platform. If you are someone who's looking for a type of content, all you have to do is go to kweli.tv, select the movie you want to see. You sign up for free. It's free to actually get on the platform and see our entire library. Once you see something that you want to see on the platform, you can either sign up for an annual or monthly subscription, or you can rent content for 24 hours. So you don't have to necessarily commit. And there is a 30-day trial. So during beta, right now we're still in beta, so it's a 30-day trial. It will be a 14-day trial after beta. So get in while you can, and you can watch content and test us out and see if you like us. And if you do, you'll continue on with our service.
I think Askia is looking at my notes because my next question was going to be, platforms can you see it besides the internet? Roku. Can you see it on Apple TV at this point? Or if you're a gamer, can you see it on any?
So that's something we're working on. Right now, we're pretty much finished with our Roku channel, and we will be releasing kweliTV on Roku probably in the next few weeks. I saw someone mention Apple TV and Chromecast. But Chromecast, it's just mirroring right now. And honestly, if we're not Apple TV either, but with Chromecast and Apple TV, actually mirror it. And so when I watch kweliTV on my Apple TV, all I do is just mirror my iPad with my television, and I can watch content on on the television. Our goal right now, we are working on building those apps. It just takes time to build apps. One of the things that people don't realize that every single platform you have to build an app for each individual one. So you have to build basically a new site. So it's different for Amazon Fire versus Apple TV versus Roku versus Xbox versus PlayStation. So it's all different. But our goal is by next year to be on everything, so people can watch us no matter what platform they're using. That's our goal right now.
And Gerald, he wanted to know how many movies are in your catalog currently.
Right now, we have about 260 videos on there currently, and we add 2 to 3 a week.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Are they all feature length, or some of them web series?
Some are web shows, documentaries. We have shorts on the platform as well. So we have it's all types of content.
Animated?
Yes, we do have animated. We have cartoons or children's programming, and we also have 2 adult cartoons. One is the Black archaeologist. So it's a brother who goes back in time into history and finds out about our history. Like he goes back to the 1400s to Africa and visits. And we also have another adult cartoon called Chill Town, and it's just a bunch of young adults who are trying to find their way And that's a more of an adult programming on Quality TV. One of the adult programming that I mentioned. We are looking for more animation, and because people are asking for that. It's just something that when it comes to people of African descent, there's just not a lot of that type of content that's ready. I mean, there are a lot of graphic comics, comic books, but nothing that's animation that can be, screened on your televisions or on your iPads.
So it sounds like there's something for everybody, young and old.
Yes.
If you are a black nerd or intellectual or whatever, something there for everyone. And I think that's
exactly.
I think that's pretty awesome that you guys. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick moment to give a shout out to the people that are listening. And let me start off. We have, of course, Alan is in the house. We have C. Will. We have Ava. Laura is in the building. We have Stephanie, Aaron, Dr. Vibe. Happy Canada Day. Gerald, and we have Lisa Lauren. And I know some other people are popping in and out. And to all those that are listening on the podcast as well, thank you. And who will be listening to the download or watching the replay. So everybody for coming in and checking it out with us. So we are here with, just to reset, DeShuna. She is the CEO, creator, founder, Grand Poobah of kweliTV, which is a platform that you can see movies from the African diaspora, all kind of wonderful content, and more content comes in, and it's really cool. And it's not a ratchet box at all. And I love that. And anybody who's telling you to add more ratchet stuff, just delete them out of your contact list. If they want to see that, believe me, they can go on World Star.
Yes, they can go on World Star. And it's interesting. People like, I'm sorry, but you may have to have some ratchet. No, I'm not. I'm not interested. I'm totally not interested in ratchet. People want to get that. They can go a lot of different places to get that type of content. I'm just not interested in it at all.
Yeah, I mean,
no ratchet zone like that.
It elevates what you're doing because it feels like that, there's so many other platforms for that. So I'm so glad that that's what you're doing. So it's definitely awesome that you're doing this. So besides the other platforms in which you're going to be putting it, what do you see in the future as far as content? Are you guys going to create original programming at all?
If we, once we start getting more money, right now I'm currently bootstrapping kweliTV because it's very difficult to get investment dollars. But once we get rocking and rolling with funding and making, globs of money, I definitely want to create content. I have a lot of ideas for scripted content, a lot of ideas for documentaries, a lot of ideas for, quality reality content as well. So I'm really hopeful for the future and what type of content that we can create that no one has seen before.
And maybe, just maybe, some of those love stories you wrote when you were 7.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to open up that book. I still have my notebook from when I was a kid. I have to look in there and see what I wrote because I haven't looked at it in a while. And we're also going to be starting a news division too. Yeah, poetry, someone mentioned. Yeah, Alan. Poetry is also something that, that's important to me. It'd be great to have original music like jazz and concerts that are streamed on kweliTV, as well as plays. I mean, I'm really seeing kweliTV doing a lot of things that we typically don't have on other platforms. And we're looking to start a news division too. One of the things that's really important to me as a journalist is to have a space where we can tell our stories from around the world and having filmmakers of color tell our stories. So instead of, a lot of times when something happens, like the little girls are kidnapped in Nigeria, they're bringing someone from the U.S. to Nigeria to tell a story, versus there are lots of journalists in Nigeria who are from that community. Let's have them tell their own stories and tell us what's happening in those communities. So that's something that we're working on as well for the very near future with our news division portion.
All right. Well, looks like we have another great question. She has a question she's just stating. She says, I love your concept so much. What role or how important are Black indie documentaries in portraying our Black narrative, particularly in telling our modern day story?
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's so important. One of the things that I think the misconception about, people, Black people, that we only, like I mentioned earlier, only want to watch like types of comedies. I would say when it comes to our content on kweliTV, the most popular content are documentaries. We enjoy more documentaries, and it's hard for people to, it blows their minds. Like, people watching more documentaries than scripted content. Yes, documentaries are extremely popular on the platform. So I really feel like it's really important for us to tell stories. And with our, for instance, with our news division, our goal is to have a more of a documentary approach to telling news stories, to make it more interesting, where it's not just the typical news segment where people from different parts of the aisle screaming at each other about who's right and who's wrong, but to tell a real story and to take the time to go to communities and go deeper. And documentaries do that. I feel like documentaries they do a really good job at diving deep into critical issues that a news segment may not necessarily get to do. So I really feel like it's extremely important, and I'm very dedicated to documentaries on our platform. I personally love documentaries, and so that's why whenever I'm always, looking for new content, I'm always very interested in having documentaries on platforms. I think that it's a very important role in what we do, and unfortunately, when it comes to documentaries, it's even harder for Black filmmakers who create documentaries to get distribution, even though the documentaries are really great. So I want to make sure that we're the space where really awesome documentary films get to see the light of day, and those critical issues are at the forefront that we're discussing on a daily basis. Like, one film on the platform is called Seeking Asylum. A brother, after the Michael Brown verdict, he was supposed to go to London anyway, or travel to, do backpacking in Europe. He was like, do I want to come back to the US? So he created this documentary around whether or not he should come back to the US, and because of everything that was happening in the US. And what he found is, which is why I think it's so important to talk about issues internationally, is that when we talk about issues like police brutality in the US, there are issues all over the world. I talk to filmmakers from London. I talk to filmmakers from Paris. And I talk to filmmakers from Brazil. They say, DeShuna, yeah, we hear about what's happening with Black Lives Matter and the injustices that happen to Black people when it comes to police brutality, but it happens in our countries too. It just doesn't make international news like it does in the US. So basically, we're experiencing the same things all over the world, and that's what Seeking Asylum and documentaries on the platform shows. That while we think that this issue with over policing is big in the U.S., it's happening everywhere. And his assessment was like, "Geez, it's bad here. I might as well just go back to the U.S. because this isn't really asylum like he thought it was going to be." So I think those stories are important because we do have this ideal about America, and we know it's not perfect, but it's not perfect in other places either. Unless Donald Trump wins, and I guess we all leave, I suppose. But besides, other than that,
your personal island. Hey, it's time to buy your own personal island.
Exactly. Just kidding. If it was a Donald Trump fan, I'm trying to knock anyone's political views, but it was just a little jokey joke. But
it's okay.
But for the most part, I really feel like we're really tackling issues that you may not really see in other places or even dare talk about, because if you watch a cable network, they're coming back with the cable companies, and they really have to make sure their content is in line with what the cable companies want them to do. I'm totally independent, so I don't have to hear. No one has to go on my ear and tell me what they think should be on the platform. I know what I want on the platform, and I don't care what anyone else thinks, because I know what my audience, what they want, my subscribers, I know what they want.
That is so cool. So you do a lot when it comes to checking in with your subscribers, and is you method somehow where they can write to you or tweet you or something so they can kind of say what they like, don't like, or what they may want to see.
Mm-hmm. As someone mentioned, Alan mentioned, we do have a survey that we did a survey back in February and what people liked about kweliTV. In addition, we have an email account, an email address called hello@kweli.tv, where people can give us any information, things that we think that we should approve upon. And that's, I get lots of emails from people about what they think we should do and how they like us or what they want us to add to the platform as well. In addition, social media, people just tweet stuff. That's just how the world is today. And people will always tweet information about what they think we should have on the platform.
Welcome, Dr. Vibe. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for letting me in. How you doing?
He's professional. He is like the.
How's everybody? Everyone good?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. Well, DeShuna, thank you so much for launching this platform. I've known about it for a while. I want to ask a bit more of what your thoughts are right now. You mentioned developing of a news division. What sort of ideas have you thought of initially about the news, getting a news division, or having content news or current events wise?
So we have a couple ideas. The first one, as I mentioned earlier, would be to have a space where filmmakers from around the globe can tell the stories within their own community. So let's say you're a journalist in Nigeria, you're a journalist in Uganda, you're a journalist in some part of Brazil, you're a journalist in Haiti, you're a journalist in Cuba. The goal is for them to tell whatever's happening in their community, to be authentic and tell their actual stories, and it'll be shown on kweliTV. And I feel it's really important because in one way, of course, also in America too. So in Atlanta, so in New York, so in Chicago, so in DC, that's also important as well. So it's not just international, but also in the U.S. But the goal is to really talk about what's happening around the diaspora and what's different and how our cultures are different, and then what's happening that's similar and how we can work together. Because one thing about Black Lives Matter, I think everyone thinks about the United States, but I feel like it could be a much broader movement if we really were to look at what's happening in other parts of the world when it comes to people of African descent. So I really see this as an opportunity to really be an international news service of the global Black community that no one else is doing. So if no one don't be writing thing down, folks, or taking those, that's what we're looking to do. But in the very near future, we're really looking to have a space and also really support journalists in other parts of the world, because as I mentioned earlier, typically if a major news story happens in some part of Brazil, they will send someone in the US to cover that story versus tapping the talent that's already in those countries they're just as capable in telling those stories. And we really want to support those particular journalists who would tell a truthful story versus someone coming from the outside coming in and may have a different view about that particular culture. And so that's one thing. Another thing, and we're going to say something, Dr. Vibe?
No, keep on going. I'm listening intently. Keep on going.
And another thing we're really looking to do is have live news content as well, where we have, thought-provoking conversations about a lot of various things. And even my husband was talking to me about a podcast that used to come out about race in America. It's like, DeShuna, that'd be a really good topic to focus on kweliTV, because typically if you watch, and that means open up the dialogue to not just Black people, but Asian people, white people, Latino people, really having a real conversation. And because I feel like when we talk about race in America, or when mainstream media have a conversation on race, they usually it's all white cast, or all white people, one Black person, versus having a real diverse topic about race in America and what we can really do about it. And so I'm like, well, it's a good idea to really have that type of conversation. And so really having conversations around social justice issues beyond like what's happening, but like what can we really do to make a difference. I feel like that's what's kind of lacking a lot of times in mainstream media. It's all about attacking the other side when it comes to politics versus really getting to the meat of a particular subject matter and say, okay, this is what's really happening, but as a community, what can we really do to make a difference? And instead of focusing on a pundit or someone from a political aspect, focusing on someone who has a background in actually making change in their communities. So when people watch them on our news segments, they can in turn in their own communities also make a difference. Another thing we're also looking to do is just kind of have like some really quick, 5-minute, around the clock. This is what's happening around the globe in the global Black community. Number 5, this is what's happening in Brazil. Number 4, this is what's happening in Italy. This is what's happening. Number 3, this is what happened in Chicago. And really have some really more up-to-date things and not be the cookie cutter CNN that's just people are ranting with each other and going off about their political views, but really having real dialogues about real news subjects and how we can make a difference. Hopefully I answered your question.
You answered my question and then some. I'm very interested. Now, you had given out the hello@kweliTV email address. Does that go to you?
Yes, it does. I don't tell many people, but yes, it goes to me personally.
Actually, I've known about kweliTV for a long time because I'm an associate of Nicole Franklin's.
Okay, yes, nice. Nicole, we love Nicole. Yes.
Yeah, so she had also, before it went live, she had told me about it and wanted to see if I was interested. Now, hearing from you where you've come to, it's certainly I will email you at that email address and we can continue the conversation offline.
Awesome. Yes, I'm always interested in connecting with people.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump off because I'm sure there has to be at least one other person who wants to ask questions and find out. I thought I'd kick it off because they got all this great commentary going on the side, but no one's jumping in the space. So I thought, hey, give it a roll. So Kiana and Kinte, as always, thank you for doing all that you do. Very much appreciated, and don't quit, because if you quit, I'm going to kick you back on. So just remember that.
Thank you, Dr. Vibes.
We're too legit to quit.
My pleasure. And DeShuna, you're getting an email tonight, so look forward to it. Okay, DeShuna?
Yeah, I will look at it. I will get back to you. I always do.
All right. God bless. Peace. Well, keep safe. And happy 4th to everyone down in the U.S.
All right, thank you.
Same to you.
I appreciate that. So I want to reiterate to people that you can become a subscriber now. Just let's reiterate that fact. So how can they do so?
Yes, they can go to kweli.tv, kweli.tv. And they can select any movie. Once they sign up for free, it's free to sign up. Once they select a movie that they're interested in, they can select either a monthly or annual subscription. Right now, we're in beta prices, so this is a really good time to get in while they're cheap. So if you get in now, you would have that low price for 12 months, and then it will, of course, go up to regular price once you get the beta. And you can watch content for 30 days, and if you decide that it's something that you're interested in, then you continue on with your subscription. It's just that simple.
All right. So I'm gonna get me a subscription tonight, and I hope that everybody does, because we always say we want these kind of things, and then when we don't support them. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm pretty sure if we miss one trip to Starbucks, that'll probably cover the cost.
Exactly.
So we'll go one day without coffee, so we can.
All right.
So I'm definitely going to be a subscriber, and this is very exciting. It's really exciting. Never. That's funny. No, this is really exciting, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm looking forward to the future for you, because like I said, people don't realize distribution is like the holy grail. And you get into the distribution aspect, that's a lot, because that's how, we as a people, we almost never get into the distribution part.
Mm-hmm.
We do production, we do, you know, the other part, but in the distributor, and it's a big thing. I hope. Distribution is king. So
yeah, I agree. And like when I graduated from Jackson State, my goal was to go to NYU and be a documentary filmmaker, but I was like, gosh, I can't afford it, so I put it on the back burner. And I did do one documentary after talking with, took a couple classes in the DC area, and the filmmaker who went to USCU she ended up having student loans of $260,000. Was like, DeShuna, did not get a master's degree in film. Take a couple classes, pick up a camera, and do it. And that's what I did. After I did my first documentary, I was like, man, this is awesome, but do I want to do another documentary, or do I want to create a platform? And so I wanted to instead create the platform. I can always put out a documentary anytime, but I really felt like it was really important to be a distributor of content instead at this point in my life, because I feel like I wanted to create a platform that will allow so many other filmmakers to have a voice and make money off of their work.
Right, and instead of waiting for a green light, she is. Mm-hmm. So you know,
yeah.
I don't know if enough people understand that. You know, that it's very important, and I think it's in all of our interests that people like herself is Black people who want to represent us, especially in a positive light, be successful. Because if a sister like her can be successful in this venue, it's great across the board. So do it. Be selfish and support it. You know. So like I said, I really love what you're doing, and you got a supporter in myself, and I hope that everybody that's listening will at least give it a shot and tell a friend, and a friend until what they say their friend tells you.
Right, exactly.
Because I think it's real important. So at least share it with this platform. And and you said you always update new content. You said 3, something like that.
So we release 2 to 3 new projects every Wednesday. So we send out a newsletter to about 11,000 people. We have about 11,000 registered users on the platform. So every Wednesday we send out an e-newsletter that includes all of our new content. So every week we do release new content. We only release 2 to 3, which is on purpose, because our goal is not to be like a Netflix that releases, like 500 or 100, 300 films at one shot, where it's inundating for our subscribers, and it gives our filmmakers a disadvantage, because people have too much content to choose from versus saying these are 2 films. This is what's new this week. If you're into it, this is what's here, and it really gives our independent filmmakers who are having a hard time getting distribution just because of, unfortunately, just bias. It gives an opportunity to get the spotlight, so we're able to properly promote all of our filmmakers on platform, versus if we're like a big company with 100 films and we're going to promote the one that's going to be like the Iron Man or whatever. So I really feel like it's really important for us to do that. So yeah, 2 or 3 projects a week. One could be a film, one could be a documentary, or it could be an episode of a web show. On the platform, it could be something from ebony.com, because we do have an ebony.com channel on kweliTV as well. So it could be from any one of those different genres.
I just want to say before Kiana gets her question, is I just signed up that fast. It was that fast.
Yay.
So you guys can do the same while we're all talking.
All right. I did want to ask you real quick, because I know we were running out of time with you, but can you just give us a good highlight or a quick highlight on Empower Magazine? So
Empower Magazine was the first thing that I started, and I wanted to start it because as a journalist, I wanted to tell a story. So basically it's dedicated to telling social justice issues and really talking about how we can make a difference within our communities. And it's something that I've been really dedicated to since I was a journalist in college working for a newspaper. And so that's basically what Empower is all about. I will say that with kweliTV, Empower it's my first child. Your first child, my first child is older. Empower's like 7, can go in the fridge and get its own food now, and she can, kweliTV is a baby, so I'm nursing it, and so kweliTV is definitely getting a lot more attention because it's a baby versus my child, a big child that's empowered. So, but one of the things that I'm really looking to continue on once we get a little more stable with kweliTV is continue. We used to have, the past 2 years we had something called the Empower Players Awards, where we would honor everyday people who made a difference in their communities. It didn't matter if they had a Twitter page or whatever. If they were anyone, like one year we honored a woman. She passed away right before the awards show, but she started a nonprofit organization in Southeast DC where she was just trying to keep kids in Southeast off the street. So with her own money, she bought a building and she started an after-school program, and 300 kids would come to her house, come to her building every day after school. What? And so those, and she didn't have a Twitter page. She was just a regular grandmama with just one who gave a damn. I can say that, right? And so those are the type of people I really like honoring for the Empower Players Awards, and that's definitely something that I want to continue on as I continue on. And the goal would be to somehow incorporate Empower with kweliTV in some capacity. One of the things, especially with Empower Players Awards, will be to live stream the award ceremony on kweliTV next year. If all goes well, we shall see. But Empower was my first idea, was my first baby. I will always love Empower, and I really, believe in what it's all about. But it's older, so it's sort of, going to the fridge itself and getting its own food at this point.
You have the ability to also have actual live content as well, streamed, so you see it and it's happening at this moment.
Yeah, that's the goal. So we're looking right now. We have an ambassadors program, which I don't think there are ambassadors who are here on now. But we're going to start doing a movie night where we stream a movie that's on kweliTV, and it'll be streamed on our site. It'll also be streamed on Facebook. And then after that, we'll have a discussion about that particular film, and our ambassadors will be really taking charge with that. So that's one of the things we're really looking to do in the very near future with live streaming. So we definitely want to start having discussions around various films.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Great.
Yes.
So once again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. This is an honor to get a chance to properly get a chance to meet you. And once again, how can people get you on social media, as well as remind them about the site? We want to beat it in their heads. And
right. Exactly. So it's kweliTV, KWELI.TV. If people want to follow us on social media, Twitter is KWELITV. Facebook is KWELITV. Instagram, KWELITV. If people want to follow me personally on Twitter, it's at DeShuna, so it's at DESHUNA.
Awesome.
Right. And Kiana, how can people get you on social media and such?
All right, across the board, Happy Work Week, Twitter, Happy Work Week, Tumblr, Pinterest. I'm more on Twitter, but Facebook, you can hit me up at Kiana Rodriguez. You can hit me up at Happy Work Week 555. That's my page. And you can also join the Happy Work Week community if you just search at Happy Work Week on Facebook. So, Kente, how can people reach you?
You can get me at Kente F, and you can also go to the website, which is indyradio.org. That's INDY radio.org. And we will be back next week with another guest. What's your
Next week, we have Sean Blanchard. I am very excited about Mr. Sean Blanchard. He is a mentor to the youth, and so it's going to be an amazing conversation. I mean, he has an amazing story, actually. So I'm hoping everyone will join us next week, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
All right. Very exciting, very exciting. You guys have a great weekend, and happy 4th. Peace.